Get up and get out. Get out. Get out.
I have a question for you.
Say Christ is Lord. Say Christ is Lord. Say it. You say Christ is Lord. Get out. Get out. Christ is Lord.
Hello and welcome in to another episode of Offensively Accurate, hosted by yours truly, A-list thug, aka White Boy D Boys, aka another racially ambiguous groiper. And I'm here to tell you that Jesus loves you and Christ is King, among many other unfortunate things. And I will be honest, right at the beginning of the hour, it's been a slow news day. A slow news day. It's been actually kind of aggressive how slow today has been. So we're going to be looking at a couple of different things, actually. We're going to take a little bit of a look at the Iran war, but we're going to probably look at a lot of other peripheral elements happening and will be happening over the weekend as well. So a couple kind of broader things I want to talk about too in general. But good to see everybody in here today. Smelly Balls, VVS Goaded, Mr. Moss as well. Appreciate seeing everybody. Jason Smith as well, always. Nice to see you, brother. I appreciate the whiskey glass. It's like, it's such a nod. Like, if any emoji was like a nod of the hat, it would be that one. It's pretty awesome. Elrock's in here on time as well, too. That's crazy. First time. But appreciate you, brother. Thank you very much for the super chat. He says, appreciate you. I'm ready and on time today. Thank you for that very much. And we will be taking a look at where the Iran war is today, although it's once again in the same place it's always has been, which is buried deep behind the fog of war. I also want to take time looking at the America First United and some of the speakers that will be there, as well as some of the contentions and some of the grumblings of what people are seeing with it so far. And I have a couple of comments on that. And we have a couple of announcements too that we'll get to through this. We'll take a look at Casey as well, but let me say this too at the top. If you are in the state of Ohio and you are registered to vote, May 5th, that is in 4 days, today is the 1st of May, on May 5th, Tuesday, take your happy white ass to the booth and vote for the cowboy. We are voting, it is Cowboys versus Indians in Ohio. We are voting for the cowboy. Make your vote heard. Do not allow this anchor baby to operate Ohio. And at the bare minimum, if you haven't paid attention to much of the polling data, it does appear that Vivek has actually lost the edge against Amy Acton as well. So at the bare minimum, you're either going to get a hope in Casey, or you're going to get a Jewish woman ruling over you. Not the same one that Nick Fuentes pushed off of his porch, mind you, a different one, somehow another one. And responding to the comment from Smelly Balls as well, Smelly Balls says that an observation he's been making throughout the last few days is that he's seeing way more coverage of Nick pushing the woman instead of the shooter who approached him. I think it was like just a few, I don't even forget how long ago it was. But yes, many people are talking and covering about the story. And we covered a little bit yesterday of Nick pushing the woman, I believe her name is Marla Rose, off the porch because she decided to show up with a camera and shove it in his face. And this is only a few days, weeks, it might even been a month, but it was only a period of time before someone who had literally previously murdered 3 individuals before showing up to Nick's home with like a crossbow and other firearms, that of course Nick would have this response. He was in the middle of his generational run. Some could say it's still going on. Perhaps it will never end. But that kind of omission is intentional, if you were asking me, because to bring up that, you would go, oh, well, no wonder he's got a very defensive posture to the person coming to his door. This clearly fat and obese leftist looking woman, like, what would you expect? Why would you take the chance? And again, I think I kind of laid it out pretty clearly yesterday, but I think there's a part of that that's what they're hoping for. They're saying on one hand, oh, it's so excessive. Why would he be doing that? But knowing and hoping that somebody just friendly opens their doors so they can get, I don't know, slapped, maced, punched, or even worse, unfortunately. And that happens too often. And the threat of violence, this violent iteration of the current kind of political landscape we're in, is something that, I mean, nobody wants to be a part of anymore. But there's nothing that you can do about the reality. It is just something that is. And Kevin 11 says, nice AF hat. Save the Nick pushing lady to the ground edits for the great report this Saturday. Yeah, right. We've got a couple of those. And he's making it a bit easy for me with not going live yesterday. Last night, I should say. So I have one less day I have to worry about paying attention to. So I'm sure all the Clippers probably feel the same. I typically see a lot of the times they post when he takes a day off or he doesn't stream, they say things to the effect of, finally a day off, or no, I don't have to worry about clipping today, which is kind of funny since a lot of them probably do, make money off of it. So Vivek, Casey PUTSCH, the Iran war. Another headline that you're probably going to see floating around today is that the Daily Wire is actually conducting layoffs. It's a little bit unsure of how broad or widespread the layoffs are. I believe I saw this from Chief Trumpster first initially, and he had a screenshot of a political reporter from the Daily Wire who had publicly posted on X saying, I am looking for a job in the DC area. I got laid off there at the Daily Wire. Candace Owens said, and she boosted, I don't know whose post it was, but she quoted somebody and said that she does believe that it's around 50%, or she's seeing reports that they're laying off like half of their staff, which is kind of insane. And we've heard the writing was on the wall for some time. I believe it was Ian Carroll who was heavily reporting on this about 6, 7, 8 months ago, talking about how a lot of the different infusions of cash coming from people like Jeremy Boring as well as Ben Shapiro to keep things afloat. And there was also an element of this that was also wrapped around with Jeremy Boring, and I believe this also went into his Pendragon series, which was, I guess, his baby there at the Daily Wire. And again, because Jeremy Boring is one of these failed theater kids, his main priority was making this kind of episodic series meant to compete with Netflix. This is kind of what Boring and many of the others have been pushing with like Bent Key in there. I think Bent Key was the overall one. They had a different one for kids, or maybe I'm confusing them. But from what I had read and what I remember Ian Carroll reporting on was that it was a huge money drain. And it was because of reasons like such as this, and supposedly allegations, the way he handled people like Brett Cooper and others, that he was eventually pushed out. Seems that he maintained some level of relationship with them, although I'm not sure what the overall relationship is, because even in the initial, it wasn't reported that he was like fired. It was like he got relegated. And so he was moved to some lesser known role. He was still there at the Daily Wire, and who even cares? It's Jeremy Boring for that matter. He has really nothing, honestly, anybody wants to hear at all. And if he does say something, it's generally very angering. Outside of that, I would say there are some broad themes of today, even though there's no content. And I thought it was funny because even as I don't think that pretty often, but today was actually a pretty slow day. And it was funny because I saw Beardson post very similar, and he was like, well, I'm going to be the content. So whoever wants to come, come tune into my stream, I'm going to be the content, which is pretty cool. And, when you have a great voice like that and you can play the guitar or whatever it is, ukulele, I can't play nothing, so don't ask me to play. I can talk good. That's the extent of my skills. I can talk good. And it sounds wonderful, right? I can voice mog, and that's basically about the extent of my musical abilities, if you will. But there is one kind of story that's being pushed by MAGA. So to change gears a little bit, I call it the MAGA entity, or whatever you want to call this kind of MAGA Republican Fox News grouping, the pro-Israel first, the Mark Levin entity, the Israel firsters, if you will, that crowd. And it's being pushed by people like the notorious MAGA Glazer by the name of Benny Johnson. And this story is this report that came out about all of this anti-Christian happenings and events and posturing and actions that occurred during the Biden administration. And I'm here to tell you right now that if you needed to be told in a report that the Biden administration was anti-Christian, you are not going to make it. You might as well log off right now, go buy an Xbox 360, go get a copy of Halo, and never concern yourself with politics again. The reason why I think this story is being entertained today is because, well, for one, there is a larger, broader story happening today with the Trump administration that I think they're trying to divert attention away from primarily. Secondarily, I think its other intended effect is to get a lot of the Christian backlash to the way that this current administration is handling itself and get it to focus its attention a bit more on Biden. So I think it's two-pronged. And the reality is the main story of today is that the Iran war is quote unquote over, or so the administration is saying, that the hostilities are terminated. At least is what the Trump administration is reporting. And so it's really a commingling of a lot of multiple conflicting reports. And so Mario Nawfal, for whatever reason, and perhaps he saw a report of this, I really haven't seen anything speaking to this, but he pushed earlier today, Mario Nawfal being a prominent news aggregator and geopolitical as well, pushing that the White House administration, because today was actually going to be the 60th day, the expiration of the war powers, meaning that they either end the hostilities, they end the war outright, or they ask Congress for the approval or the authorization to wage the war, which ultimately they should have done before entering into the conflict. But I believe one of the elements of the war powers resolution is that it does give latitude to the president to be able to conduct operations to a certain point before then having to ask Congress. And I think part of this is to, for one, I mean, if your nation's being attacked and you're getting bombed, do you want to wait for Congress to approve something, or do you want to be able to respond? I think there are common sense and practicalities inside of this that make sense of why they would have something like that in effect. But here's the reality of everything, and this is the reason why this episode is titled Trump Using Loopholes. And that is because what seems to be the approach from the administration is not that the Iran war is over, and it clearly isn't. Right now, and like we talked about yesterday, more military equipment was being moved from South Korea to Iran. Well, it's not just South Korea. There's some reports are saying about 6,500 tons of military equipment has been moved in the last 24 hours to Israel to help shore up Israel. And beyond all the other things that are still in effect, because it seems to be the approach from the Trump administration is what they're going to do is they're going to say, well, this operation is over. The Operation Epic Fury is over. The other prong to this is there's also talk, because they're also entertaining the fact of, well, no, because we had a ceasefire that also technically ended the hostilities. So there's a bunch of like commingling of differences going here with the reports of what they're saying and what the Trump administration is trying to accomplish here. And it does seem to come across as they are trying to make the argument in some way that the first operation ended. So some of the reports, some of the officials are saying, well, and Trump himself, I believe, even said this earlier today, well, that because the ceasefire occurred, that technically means that would have reset the 60 days because those hostilities ended. That operation was ended, and then the hostilities kicked up again when the ceasefire was over. And they're trying to say that's the end of the operation. So now it resets the 60 days, meaning we don't have to ask Congress for anything. The other element of it is they could also just quite literally just say, well, Operation Epic Fury is done. And then tomorrow they start Operation Epic Fury 2. And then that may also be their argument as well, which is to say, well, now because we have a new operation, it's now a new conflict, it's now a new phase, a new war. And this seems to be what the positioning right now of the administration is, and in a way to get away and around this war powers resolution, or putting any of what they're doing, any of their military objectives, strategy, happenings, to a vote for Congress. And it looks like they are trying to avoid everything in their power to. The only thing I would add to that is it doesn't seem they are really concerned anyways by violating federal law and statutes. And that is to say that both Pam Bondi, I think it might just be Pam Bondi, but I do think others are involved because of the federal order that was put in place with Ro Khanna and Thomas Massey, or the statute, I should say, which is that all the Epstein files had to be released by a certain date, or otherwise they have to be held liable or be held criminally liable or responsible. And that seemingly already took effect and then nothing occurred. And then now it's taken effect with Todd Blanche, because one of these caveats, one of these add-ins for this was also that if another AG steps in place, it resets the 30 days. But then if they also go 30 days without complying with the law, then they will too also then be held criminally liable. So the 30 days is already come and gone for Todd Blanche as well too. So I don't really know how much they honestly really care or give an F at all about what any of these statutes are. But it is to say that this is seemingly the way that they're going to massage it to the voters, and massage it is why they don't need to put it to a vote, or why Congress doesn't need to be involved. So that's kind of the overall of what's occurring right now in the Iran war. Not a very exciting kind of trope, but I guess a new way of how to lie and continue doing the operation, continuing what they have been doing, for lack of better words. And I would say additionally too, that seems to be the primary effect, I would say, of why they're also running this kind of just, here's this report of how anti-Christian the Biden Department of Justice was and the Biden administration overall was. It feels very cheap, given the fact that it's so ironic that we're pushing this. Look at them, look how anti-Christian they are, and everyone else for the last, basically since the Iran war started, and even before then, has been saying, well, look how anti-Christian you are, and this administration is. And look how anti-Christian, and you look at the religious liberty commissions, and so I think both in effect, primarily to get attention away from this just lying and corruption of the way that they're operating the war, and secondarily to also give a different kind of channel for this anti-Christian anger to be directed more towards Biden, a prior administration. Do you think anything's going to happen from this? I mean, let's just be honest. I mean, what are they going to? You seriously think someone's going to get arrested in this country for doing something anti-Christian, or for certain fundings, or for certain actions? Now, there were some itemable offenses inside the report of what they were saying, and some of it went to the way that they were looking at, with like reproductive health care, and I hate to even say that, but that's like the terms that they use, with these abortion clinics, and the way that some of these people were adjudicated against, and they were looking into their backgrounds. And so sure, you would hope that there would be justice in some of those cases, but overall it has very little national impact, and it serves as, again, a very kind of cheap way to give some bread. It's not a circus, but it gives some bread to the masses. It's something for them to chew on for a little bit. It won't satiate them for long, but it does, at least for the time being, get eyes away from what is currently the big negative or the bad. So that's kind of the overall gist of what we have going on. But again, vote for Casey PUTSCH. That's the positive of today. We do have positives going on, but do make sure that you vote for Casey PUTSCH on May 5th if you are in Ohio. But with that, let's get started.
Cut straight through, offensively accurate, that's the view.
Alrighty, so if you have not smashed the like button, go ahead and jump off the nearest bridge for me, please and thank you. And also make sure you subscribe to the channel as well. We appreciate that. Just jokes here. NAV Metallurgy, thank you to the sponsor. We'll be coming soon at some point. We'll be getting a actual little stand-in ad I'll be doing for them. I'll just have it set on a video. That way I don't have to do it improv every single time. But thank you to them for sponsoring the show, athenwarellc.com. And that is for anybody who has wants any kind of custom printed 3D printing project that they want to see how well it can get worked on, looked at, theorized, or made in bulk, and as well as light boxes and probably many other things that they make and create that I am not thinking of. So definitely check them out. And if you didn't notice that it's not there today, but I did have the light box on last stream, the offensively accurate one, and they do a great little slide in and out with like these different slides. And so the light box that I have, I believe it's like one of their medium sizes. I think you can get a little bit smaller than that. But the light box I do have, you can slide out like sheets. And so you get these 3D printed sheets. So the one I have is for offensively accurate, and I can slide that one out. And the other one I have is for NAV, which is the face card of all of the creators who are part of the New American Vision. So definitely check them out if you haven't, or if you'd be interested in that, because they have gone out of their way to sponsor a show like this because we know what kind of time and era we are in today. So I want to start with the America First United. Let's think that's the content I think that maybe is the most relevant of today. That's not going to bore people to death, but this is what I wanted to look at, which is this is the America First United. You guys have probably seen this on your timelines in the last few days. And that is the concept that there is this new kind of conference. And if you were asking me, this conference is, I thought it was going to be a bit of in person, but it looks like it's an invite only or a speaker only conference. It seems to be live stream only. And if you see that, it is tomorrow, May 2nd. And of course, of all places, it's happening 30 minutes away from me. And I have no idea where to go and probably wouldn't even be let in. They'd be like, get this wigger, get this groiper ass wigger Mexican half breed out of my, I don't even know if they'd say that or not, but I was actually excited to do that. I was planning on dedicating some time. I would have been late actually because I have an appearance tomorrow. I'll keep that under wraps, but I do have an appearance on someone's channel tomorrow. It'll be around 1 p.m. Eastern, or I could be wrong. Maybe it's 2 p.m. I need to check my calendar. But I wanted to show up afterwards. So it would be like not that far away, like 30 minutes of a drive. And I was even further more dismayed. So not only is the America First United event happening as basically a stand-in, a digital stand-in for AFPAC seemingly, it's that I didn't even get invited. And you know who did get invited? Truth, to be fair, like I'm very small of a creator compared to a lot of these people. But you know who did get invited? Morgan Ariel did. So let me, I thought I had this to post, but I guess I don't. I can't see well without my glasses. Let me go find this for you. I think I bookmarked the one. Yeah, so here's the one from Beardson. These are some of the contentions. But look at this. Here's Morgan Ariel. You're telling me Morgan Ariel is more America First than me? You're telling me right now that Morgan Ariel can speak better to America First United than I could? That's cap. Come on. And let's be honest, I'm cool with starting beef. I'm completely fine with starting beef. I deserve to be up there more than Morgan Ariel does. Let's just be honest about that. But it does show you a bit of some of the contentions here. And so Beardson says in this tweet, he says, create an event named after Nick Fuentes' movement, invite Jewish people to speak who hate Nick and slander him constantly. It's all so tiresome. And I got to be honest, I can't, that literally is fair criticism. That is quite honestly the point. And if anything, it would have been fine. There'd be less of an issue if Morgan Ariel wasn't there. There's a couple others on there that I'm not too sure about. Let's be real. But then look at this one. They invited a girl who sells Doc's ICE agent shirts. WTF are we doing here exactly? And that's fair criticism. I mean, how could you say it's not fair criticism? Why is this person going there? Right? Especially if and here's the thing too, right? America First is Nick. Nick is America First. He was the creator of the show, the tagline. He's the reason why America First is prominent. Although it was uttered by Donald Trump, Nick turned it into the movement that it is. So it is kind of curious that you're inviting people on who have done really nothing but their entire time. I think Morgan Ariel was like the Jeffrey Epstein take, but she was probably already crashing out about any of her anti-woman takes as well. And Morgan Ariel stands as one of these women. She might not be as bad as some of these other ones like Ali Bestaki, but she's still pretty rough. And it just doesn't look good. It's optically not what you would want to be seeing. And I think in a space today where you have to really kind of second guess everybody's motives, you don't know who's really trying to slime you, who's really trying to pull one over, who's grifting, who's really just in it for the money, who's willing to, shake the hand the moment someone's hand, extends it to them. It's not a good look. I will say that. On the bright side, though, there are some good speakers there who I would like to hear from, and I probably will be paying attention to the event regardless. I've gone back and forth over streaming it, but I just don't. If it's already only a live stream event, I think it just is it's just cheap if I stream it as well and then try to get people to watch it off my channel. So I probably won't do that. And you know me, I always think about things like that. Everyone else does it, and then no one seems to care. But I don't know. I have a bit of a conscience about things like that. I try not to be cheap or what's the word, replicating or just being lazy. It feels like that's kind of like lazy content, and you guys can just watch it on its own stream. And then otherwise, you miss words that are being said too, things like that. Yeah, can we get actual Americans to talk about America first? Start there. It says Democrat on that profile. What's that going to be? Like a debate thing? Yeah. Does it say Democrat? It does. Interesting. And no, I don't think there's going to be having any debates or not. I can go to their website. Let me go back to the website. Oh no, it's on this one. Let me go back to the website. It's on their X link actually. They go to the website here, makeitfirstunited.com. But I did. I spent a good amount of time trying to see like how you could get there, right? It's in my city. Like I'm about to go door to door. I'm about to go door to door, be like knocking around. Why does that guy look like a girl? That's like a crazy photo. I'm not trying to be rude at all. Wrecking Wall does good work. I'm so bad. I'm so bad with not letting things slip that would make people offended. But Amy Dangerfield, like I don't really like. She's just. I mean, she's just like all she is. It's just like she's just straight up. She's eye candy. I mean, like she's not. I mean, does anyone look at like, oh man, I can't wait for Amy Dangerfield to give her take, dude. I didn't know what to think about until Amy told me. Bro, I had no idea what to think about this issue until Amy Dangerfield gave her reasoning. You know, Floyd. That's actually a good way to say it, Josh. Thank you. Jake Shields is good. I'm cool with Jake, even though I did offer to fight him at one point. I'm still glad he never saw it. We don't. No. That never happened. No. That never happened. Actually, what video? Jake Shields, I'm cool with hearing. At least he's open and a very open person to have conversations with. And he platforms a lot of different people. Joe Webbin will be there. Verillium will be there. I thought Kai Schwimmer was going to be there, but I don't think he is going to be. Unsure the reasoning why. But there will be, there will be good speakers. And if anything, there comes this idea of, if you do open up the America First Coalition, what would that look like? Right? What would that look like? And I think there is some of that where you do. I mean, and I've been talking about it too, which is to say, like, there's an element of this that the anti-Israel item has become such a single issue to a lot of people that it's going to combine a lot of these left and right wing elements. And you saw Nick talking about this, and he got flamed for it, but that is seemingly the coalition, whether people want it or not. That's the coalition that's forming. Which is to say, both across the left and the right wing, you're seeing people join sides and join together because they agree on their number one priority, both being anti-Israel and American priorities first. And Verillium, I'm going to be honest, Verillium, I'm cool with. I think I've probably talked about this before. I do. I think anytime you see stuff like that get dumped out, it makes you hesitant, but at the same time, I could think that for a lot of other people, seeing them in their worst moments. And here's what I will say though, because I want to be completely honest with you. I am going to hold I'm not going to attack anybody. I'm not going to give any character assessments. I'm not going to, not until we see a bit more. And if we see more and we see stuff that's actually intently meant, we need to be critical of and like shame or get rid of or, prune, then we'll move to that. But what I don't want to do is start attacking people preemptively because I have a hunch. And I think that just adds more to this idea of all of these brother wars. And, and I'll be honest, I'm a bit less nice or less willing to be tolerant towards just like the women in general. I just think that's something I would like to see us move past, period. But yeah, I mean, if you're asking me, like, of course I'd rather listen to Amy Dangerfield than like whoever that other like Doc's Ice chick is. But at the end of the day, it's still kind of as an element that holds us back a little bit. And she just seems a little gimmicky to me, if you're being honest, like, especially with the wedding photos and like wearing the America First hats and like, I don't know. It just gives you the vibe of it's rough, it just gives you the vibe of like, it's cheap, it's gimmicky, it's, valuetainment, Patrick Bet David type stuff. Right. But these speakers seem to be, decent. And I mean, at the end of the day, we just got to wait until Nick tells us what his opinion is. I mean, then I'll know what to think. So, that's the way it works here. I didn't realize Casey would be talking. That's sick. I'd like to hear from Casey. Leonardo Joni, Gerard Christian, who I'm not that familiar with. Don't know who he is. Joel Webbin, Neon White Rabbit. Why does that sound familiar? He's prominent, but I don't know for what for. Faith Merrill will be there. Reverend Joel Tenney, don't know who that is. Sam Parker, I like Sam Parker. Don't care for Evan. I don't think he can be trusted. I think he's already kind of shown a bit of who he is, to be honest. Again, not trying to attack anybody, but if you're asking my opinion, she should have not been invited. Let's just be honest about that. Mark Moran, another politician. Tyler Dykes. Don't know. That's Rex. This is Alex Jones' son. Don't know who this guy is. Father Calvin Robinson. That's fair. This is not, yeah, prefer if Samira wasn't there. Right, this is, let's get rid of that. Contessa, this seems to be the Democrat Doc's Ice Woman. This is Virillium. This is Vish Burra, so I do like Vish Burra. That's solid. And Daniel Molina. So that seems to be a pretty broad roster of speakers. If it starts at noon Eastern, it'll probably run all day. It's like 8 or 9 p.m. But, I mean, this is where some of the contentions are. A lot of people are just irritated that this is what is seemingly becoming of, or what is going under the banner of America First. And so, I mean, what do you expect? At the same time, so there's two things are happening at once, which is, and let me go to the super chat first, so I don't want to miss it. And Elrex says, and thank you for the super chat, I appreciate it. Says, give Amy some slack. She was cool and supported Nick years ago before it was acceptable. I've watched her a lot. She's genuine, excluding her relationship with the Moody's. That's fine. I mean, like, I'm not going to sit there and like scream or attack her. I'm just giving you like my thoughts, what I think of her. But I guess it's decent. She's probably encouraging women to be pro America First and what, in maybe the most basic sense. But you have two things happening, which is Nick went on a generational run. Okay. Like before the generational run was sitting at like 80 some thousand subs on Rumble. If not, it's like 82 or like 87. I can't remember what exact number it was. But he goes on a generational run. So now he's close to 700,000 on Rumble. Audience has now nearly 10 times. It's like a 10-time multiplier. This means that the vast majority now of your audience is people who started subscribing and listening to you in the last year alone. Meaning they don't have a strong history of you. They probably are all of the recently red-pilled, I was red-pilled yesterday types of people. So that is one item, which is to say that the America First movement enlarged, but it enlarged at an insane pace during a crazy kind of tumultuous news cycle of a time between like 2023 and you could say until like end of 2025. So maybe like a 2.5, 3 year period. And what's going to come with that? Well, you're going to get a lot of people who aren't all the way locked in. They don't have the full history. They don't have the full scorecard, the report card. It's like they showed up in the fourth quarter. They don't know what happened in the first quarter, second quarter. They don't know that we were up 20, but then we fell down by 1. They don't know. They don't have the history. They just don't. Not to say that they're dumb or stupid, but it's to say that their idea of Nick is probably through a lens that's much, much smaller than a lot of everybody else. And generally like the mainstay audience who's been there through thick and thin and been there for much longer. This is also reflective of what you're seeing in the broad stream of politics, which is to say, this is now the movement. America First is now, not only is it a bigger movement in an idea and an ideology that's kind of been born from Nick Fuentes' America First, but now you're seeing it in the political ecosystem at large, inside of actual mainstream politics. America First is being adopted as a banner, and you're seeing this with people like Casey PUTSCH, people like Mark Lynch, and especially James Fishback. And what is this doing? Well, the broader that the movement grows, the more people that you add inside of that movement, the more that those people make up the movement, the more that the movement is defined by those people who are inside of the movement. So the movement then is becoming a reflection of all of those inside of it, which is why I think that you get things like CNN Groyper. You know, this person went on CNN and gave literally the most bullshit, retarded interview you've ever seen. And and unfortunately, too, on top of that, they were two, unlovable chuds. Not to add insult to injury, but to be real. And they get decimated because they're saying things to the effect of, oh no, like the Jew thing is like, that's like a joke. It's really like we have to, the real goal is to like end the Fed. What are you talking about? And when you say things like that, for me, the trigger goes off in my head, which is like, is this a subverter? Is this a sabotager? And then the second light that goes off is like, or is this guy one of these, I think I'm smarter than Nick individuals? Or 3, is this person literally just stupid? So that's what you're seeing, both at the same exact time. And because it's become a politically expedient thing to be a part of, it's the hot topic out right now. Well, this is why you're seeing other people attach themselves to it, even though they are not in and of themselves actually America first. It's the cool thing. It's become the trendy thing. And now that it's become a trendy thing, we're going to watch as it gets hollowed out and basically its soul removed. And it's going to turn into, unfortunately, and you hope not, I mean, it's happening now. I mean, it'll maintain a bit of organicness in its early iteration, but it is on its way to being turned into a commodity, to a thing that you buy a hat and you show up to the event and you kind of lose of like people are not going to remember like how hard it was to get an AF hat. People just don't grasp that. And that's going to be a thing that's kind of lost on this. Like, not only was the ideology at one point, like you even uttered that and you're immediately associated and attached with a certain person, and then they want to dox you and ruin your life. You literally couldn't even get the merch unless you had like Bitcoin and crypto. And even when you did, it was like, where's my hat? Like months later, you're like, hey, where's my hat? And it's all of that gets lost on people who weren't there, who started watching America First at episode 1561, and we're on episode 1591. It's like they've been here for a few months. It's not to say that everybody who just gets here is stupid, but it is to say on a lot of the intricacies and nuances. And again, you can't have nuances on things if you don't have a strong mastery of it, because you have to understand something to an extreme degree or a high degree to be able to contend with what the nuances of it are, or be able to understand them and engage with them. So it's not surprising to see this kind of hollowification of it. I'm not saying America First United is that, but I think that you see signs of that in there. And I will be honest, I agree with Jimbo Zoomer and Beardson. This is for all of the people who are, it is nice to see Appalachian go. I don't see it very often on the streams. I know you're working a lot, but I appreciate seeing you, brother. But I think the criticisms they're levied well, they are correct, and they're accurate. And I guess the only thing I would add to that, though, is to say, I guess, let's lurk a little bit more. Let's not preemptively like attack these people. Let's not make politics messier than what it already is. Let's have a little bit of, give these people a bit of breathing room. It's not to say tolerate them if they start pushing gay marriage and stupid bullshit like that, but it is to say, like, let's give people a chance. And, let's give ourselves some breathing room as well, too. Because again, it's very clear that we're not taking any kind of long strides in a lot of this. And a lot of things are being incremental. And as always, too, I mean, the net benefit of Fishback and all these guys is that the rhetoric is being pushed out there. It's being levied to a broader audience. It's being given and spoken about by seemingly more professional people, more credible people, if you will. People like a Fishback, someone who is in high production, has, the suit, speaks well for themselves, all of that. So let's give these people a chance, because again, at the end of the day, I mean, we want America First to be successful. And I think inside of that, though, there is the fear that it will be corrupted and ultimately derailed and co-opted once again. And that's the fear that I think exists with all things. And I think everybody feels that, we're living through the co-opting of MAGA right now by the nation of Israel and the fifth column of Jews in this country. So with all of those things being said, I would just, give it a second, and you guys know me, I can be pretty heavily critical of things at the time, but I guess I would like to see where this goes. And part of the reason is because a lot of those, not a lot of them, but a few of those speakers on there, I recently actually joined and probably will hopefully be making content with here soon. So we'll see where that goes. And maybe I will be the the guy who turns out to be the broken record who starts bringing that stuff up all the time, or maybe I get to be seen as the cynic or the pessimist, and I hope not. But I will hold the line, and I will not allow the line to move. Especially because if the brother's going to retire, like it's going to require. Well, first of all, I'm going to be asking Beardson to take up the mantle. I'll be like, listen, dude, elders first, right? Is Beardson the oldest groiper? He has to be. He has to be. What? How old is Beardson now? 71. I'm right there behind him. I don't let this fool you. I'm right there behind him. I'm working my way over there. Just let me get my walker first. I thought that was funny. 39? Okay, 39. That's not that bad then. I still need to do content with Beardson as well. Beardson, if you can hear me, let's get together. I think I might have messaged him some time ago too, or maybe I didn't. Maybe I'm just literally retarded. Either way, I need to get content again with all those guys, right? PUTSCH I talked to recently. PUTSCH I would like to get a hold of and talk to again. It's been too long. Same thing with Tyler as well. Tyler reached out to me to Joe on his show, like, when was that? A couple months ago. You know, Tyler Russell from Canada First, now America First. He switched teams. I need to get conversations in with all of those guys. Especially because I think if we're going to be seeing this, I guess I'm not saying it's a skin suiting. I just say you have 100% pure groipers, and then you have 80%. You have 100% enriched groipers, and then you have 85% enriched groipers, and then you have like the 60% enriched groipers. And like, if we're going to be having this going on, I want to closer attach myself to the 100% enriched groipers, like a PUTSCH, like a Tyler Russell, like a Beardson, like a Jimbo. Jimbo is somebody I don't see very often on my timeline at all, to be honest with you. I wish I could probably get some more content from him. But that is what's going on with America First United. And again, I believe it starts tomorrow at 12 p.m. Eastern. If you guys want to watch that, it's going to be live streamed. Again, I'll be having an appearance elsewhere, so I probably won't even be able to make content around like till 2 or 3. So we'll see what happens with that. If that event's going super long and going strong, I probably won't stream tomorrow until we have the Grape Report, which will be at 8 o'clock. So moving on to one of the other reports, going back to one of the main themes, is the Democrats are anti-Christian. And this is again going to seemingly is the line, the story they're pushing and running. He's streaming now. Is he streaming now? Let me go find him. Let's have some fun, guys. He's on Kick, right? You guys can't even see it. Tell us a bit about you. I don't think so. Brother, please let me just use the website. Oh, he got verified, dude. That's awesome. Oh, not Beardson. You're thinking of Tyler? How am I not stubbed? I didn't realize I was not subbed. Oh, that's the gifted sub. No. Future Nation. What does he call himself, Tyler? Yeah, shout out to Odablock, dude. Oh, he's offline. Who are you? Maybe he's not streaming anymore. Oh, he just was. Okay. Last live an hour ago. Dang. Tyler passed Beardson. That's crazy. I didn't realize that. That's awesome. Oh, Jimbo is.
Which eggs do I order?
Oh, that's awesome.
Just give me, dude. Okay. Okay.
What is he playing? Dude?
You know how people will complain about the price of eggs? Are they insane? Like, 18 eggs are $2.
What is he playing, dude?
I don't even pay attention to the price of eggs.
Bro, I don't. What are these games?
Like dirt cheap. But what is with like boomers and chuds and people being like
boy eggs.
He's one of these gotcha games. Let me move my camera.
Being like,
is this Genshin?
eggs are so expensive. Get a chicken and lay them for free? That's probably more expensive.
Yeah,
than
dude. We're doing this. See this?
18 for $2.
Yeah, dude.
Like what? $2.
Having a conversation. I'd raid the stream, but he's got way more viewers
these are
than I
$2.17. And I'm having them delivered, so I don't even have to go pick them up.
do. Not even says. What the fuck
They
is
have
this?
12 for $1.47.
Asmund Thug? That's funny. I don't know.
And you have to clean
What
the
is this
chicken poo
Gooner
off them.
game? Chad, is this a Gooner game?
18 eggs are $6
Just
for
a Gooner game.
What?
Might be the game
Like in
NTE.
Walmart?
He
18
named
eggs
himself
is
to
like
those. That's pretty funny.
$10. You guys
I like
are just
that.
capping. Wait, what?
I'll have to wait 1 minute after following. Okay.
What are you?
Hold on. I'm gonna send the message here in a
What?
second.
Okay, hold on. Let me just make sure I put this order in before
Meant to be played with
they
one
close
hand.
or they stop doing
They call
them
that
today.
hand on hog content. We're all on a list now. How's
Hold
it
on.
not
Give
been
me a
minute?
second. Okay.
That's
All right, we're
funny.
good.
Hold on, we're getting there, chat. We're getting there. I gotta
Place
set up my
order.
future collabs. It's such a slow news day, guys. You give me a. We're having.
All right, there
I
we
should
go.
have named this the Cozy Crash Out. To be real,
And we're back. Okay. Does that tower have some sort of monitoring function?
I hope Nick's doing a
Oh,
show
you mean
tonight.
The war timer
I
tower?
really do.
Yeah, the data will
I
be
need to
shot. The
refresh
Bureau
it.
relies on these for real-time.
If you haven't listened, had to stop. It's Jimbo. Here, I'll keep it off.
I was at Walmart and they were like $3. It was like, I think it was like $1 more.
Look, there I am.
Like,
Look, guys, I got on the big screen.
I don't even know.
They did nativist, bro.
Is we getting a longer stream
No, I gotta end in.
TMR?
Oh, tomorrow?
Playing Anime
No. Well,
Girlfriend
maybe at night.
Simulator.
Maybe I'll do a night stream tomorrow.
No, Jimbo's
Atlas
political.
Thug says we should collab. You should check out Chud the Builder. I think he would fuck with you so hard. I'll put in a good word for you, Atlas Thug.
Check out Chud the Builder.
Got it,
That's
got it.
funny.
There's nothing good about the city anyway. Communities are crowded, rent is high, and these big
That's
things are
funny.
ugly, ugly, ugly. Not interesting at all.
All right, we're gonna do we'll
Is
do
she
a
misunderstanding something?
Chud the Builder collab.
The war timer tower collects environmental data and calculates.
I know they hate
Game
Chud.
of the year, Crimson Desert.
Hey, dude, that's fine.
Dude,
That's
one thing
fine.
at a time,
Well,
okay?
Chud got
Alright?
banned completely
Like,
off
how
of
much
that
time
kick, I do
on
believe.
stream do we even fucking have?
Which was funny because he had what was it called? He like just got verified. He just ended up getting verified. And then they revoked his verification and then banned him permanently. Or they suspended him like temporarily and then they banned him permanently. So I think he's on like pump or something like that. I guess it was just like some kind of like kick knockoff. But no, I don't think dude, I doubt Jimbo even knows who I am, to be honest with you. Or maybe he does, and maybe they just don't like me. I don't know. I guess we're finding out, right? We're finding out too much of a wigger, I guess. Too much. I have too much of a wigger, I guess. And no, but I would like to collab with like Beardson and all those guys as well. I should have collabed with Beardson when I was like during the streak, when I had when I was doing like all the interviews together. But it felt like it was like farming the channel. And just like it felt like the last one I did with what's his name? Brad McAtee, Pastor Brad McAtee. Although they did post their version of it, I still need to respond to what's it called? I need to respond to their producer as well too. And get that next one set up as well. And get one set up that's in a way that's going to be not technically difficult. That's probably the best way to say that. LP is a good one too. I know iHypocrite. Titan has been, I think he was trying to get me to message iHypocrite. I should get back on it. I just, you guys know me. You guys know me. You guys know me, man. It's such a hassle to coordinate and then manage guests and then have it go correctly. And just tell them I shed my wigger ways and I'm now skim milk. That's funny. I guess not, dude. I guess I'm it's too much, man. I'm too bad a product, apparently. But speaking of, do a profile on somebody. This was going around today, and this was hilarious. And it was I saw it from Bazillion Thought and Basil, and Nick had responded to him. But it's a new Haley for a new right. And apparently Nayland Haley is getting profiled by who? Of course, the free press. Wonderful, lovely. And why would they be doing this? Well, there's an idea that perhaps they would like to run their own version of a Nick Fuentes. And I think they've kind of learned, and hopefully they've learned, you could kind of expect and maybe pray for it, that they've learned their lesson that people like Breland Hollyhand, these kind of even worse than Charlie Kirk robots, are not the future of the right wing. And quite honestly, probably the moment that they began trying to run and air out a bit of Breland, it was immediately just like, no. Like, no, reject. We don't want any more of this. No more of these, rich kid coming in on for private plane. Yeah. H1B Jeet Fuentes. That's who this is right here. And if you don't know, his mother is Nikki Haley. That is Nikki Haley's son. Don't know who the author is on that article at all, but it's a Stein or Steen. And you can see Nick responded there. Profile on the Free Press is crazy. We have NJF at home as media career. I thought that was funny. So I was curious if this is maybe what they will be doing. Nayland Haley, maybe this is who they are going to put their investment behind. He kind of gets a bit of both worlds, being obviously not white, or being partial, if you will, being some variation, I guess, some level of mixed, but also holding very similar views to Nick, but really probably being closer to Tucker Carlson and the containment right, if you will, closer to MTG, closer to, Tucker, that whole crowd, the Dave Smith crowd. I mean, you could throw a few other people in there. Not the overall general umbrella, but he's at least on the right side, the right wing of it. And, so it's curious. You think about, well, of course they would be doing this. And they're just matching the New York Times. And you're going to think about it too. If the New York Times is running big pieces on Nick, and here's why Nick's doing so well, and it's being aired alongside, I think it was the Unfuck America tour. I could be wrong about that. I'm pretty sure they had a different name though, and it was like that coalition. It was like with Brian Shapiro. The girl's name was something like Z something Cohen. And, if the Democrats are running that, which is a bunch of no names, and it's like the most prolific person they even have is people like Destiny and Brian Shapiro, they're comparing and contrasting that to the energy of like Nick Fuentes America First. It's like Breland Hollyhand there's no room here. Where do you put it? How do you even put a Breland Hollyhand up on the screen there, or even attach him alongside that? You just can't. So they're probably learning their lesson, and they're going to get closer and closer to simulating what they think people will vote for, while still also maintaining their prior strategic objectives. And again, the Free Press, Barry Weiss, this is a very pro-Israel crowd and organization surrounded by and funded by and how you would imagine networked together by many of the similar people with similar goals and similar assets. And this also connects to the Ellisons as well. I believe it's Larry Ellison. David is the son, I do believe. I always get their names confused. Shelling out money so he can lift another what do you call them? Another frat, another what do you call these kids that are like basically born inside of these families? These Nepo babies, maybe a word to describe it. I feel like there's another term I was looking for, but perhaps. And so I guess to go to the Iran war and some of like the actual happenings of what is going on today and maybe what is the big story of today is, again, the Iran war is needing to be voted upon. If we are to honor the Constitution, if we're to honor the thing that all of these MAGA boomers scream at the top of their lungs about, well, today would have been the day that Congress would have voted to authorize the conflict, to either extend it or to vote to end it or rescind it or begin winding it down. And so Trump gave comments to the press, despite the fact that there was reports initially saying there were things like they were perhaps considering asking for congressional approval, but then when Trump gives comments, they're not. He kind of gives this kind of half-true answer, and I'll let you guys kind of see this first, but here is this clip here. We'll play this. I know we're kind of bouncing all over the place, but such is the day today. So I'll put this on screen and move myself a little bit. And here is this. And so this is from a couple of accounts I'm unfamiliar with, but this is Trump's giving statements on congressional authorization for war. He says no other country has ever done it, which is kind of funny, but here we go.
Excuse me. Mr. President, it's day 60. Are you going to seek congressional authorization for...
Well, no other country has ever done it. It's never been, as you know, most people consider it totally unconstitutional. Also, we had a ceasefire, so that gives you additional time. But no other country's done it. We're in the midst of a big victory. This is a victory like we haven't had since Venezuela, okay, to be honest with you. We haven't had, but, you know, we have a country that lost its way. It really lost its way. That's our country in terms of the military. Now we have a great military. We're on our way to another victory, a big victory, and I don't think that it's constitutional what they're asking for. These are not patriotic people that are asking. You know, when they say, even the losers, even the ones that say all the wrong things, admit that it's been amazing what we've done. The strait is totally shut down. It's flawless. It's totally 100% shut down. Now, we've been dealing with Iran. They want to make a deal. They're not there. They're not with they're sort of, they get close, and then a new group of people come in. They don't know who their leaders are. They have no idea who their leaders are, but they're very confused, and that's because of the success we've had militarily.
So he just continues on about the success. Thank you for the super chat. And later his friend, he says, which triggers a boomer more? I don't care about Israel or the Constitution. That's a good one. That is a good one. I think it still would probably be for the average boomer. It would, God, man, that's tough. That's tough. I think it would still be for overall, combining both left-wing and right-wing boomers. It definitely would be the Constitution. I think it would have to be. If it was just right-wing boomers, I think you get the Israel. I think Israel might edge it out. Because what I'm thinking of is like if you go to like the left-wing and you start talking about how you don't care about like the religious liberty, where you don't care, you like, that's not what it means. The left-winger gets angry. They're like, no, the Constitution very clearly says there's certain things that I think that are of the amendments that would be different depending on what part of the Constitution maybe you were attacking. That's a great question. Either way, both sides, all of them, are way too concerned with the fundamentals, if you will, in being unable to recognize and ascertain just how dramatically different the time and day and age we live in. And also roping in things like technology and things that have made exponential advancements and beyond that have not even just, transformed the way a lot of these things are engaged with, from the way that people engage with the news to the way that people consume TV to all of it. That's when you cling to fundamentals, when you begin to enter a period of rapid change, I mean, like you're going to be the first one to lose because you're not going to be the one who's going to be the least able to adapt to the new kind of arena. But these comments are, more about how we're winning, we're pro-winning, but does any of that, none of that clearly obviously speaks to ending the war or ending hostilities. It speaks to more so of how Trump finds it to be a stupid thing to even do. And I think that it's not in this clip, but it might have been from another one, but I did have it in the outline, or it was reported on at the bare minimum, that he does say, he thinks it was unconstitutional to ask Congress for approval. He like flipped it on them. So Trump's just in his own world, man, and he's doing whatever he needs to do to upkeep the image. And a part of it also is like, you can't, you got to understand too, like they're in the middle of a war. Part of this is Trump having to save face. This is part of what he has to do. This is part of the job. Part of the job they're asking him to do as president and being the face of this country would be like, even if you agreed with the way that the war is going, even if you agreed with the war happening, but we were losing, you would still expect your president to approach it in a way that was very positive because you're trying to upkeep the morale of the people. You're not trying to demoralize everybody at home. But regardless, I mean, we know why he's doing everything that he's doing still. And nothing else, none of the outside information speaks to the war ending or any of it. And like I had already discussed, this is a bit of them exploiting a loophole by just ending this operation and then beginning anew. And I'm sure there's got to be, I would imagine, some kind of laws that would dictate that you can't have continually subsequent repetitive military operations. At a certain point, you got to call it a war. Or maybe that's not a part of the law, but you would think sometimes that these guys who write these things would have these in mind, but maybe they don't. Maybe that is a loophole they're looking to exploit. But they're moving military equipment to Israel. Trump said that the CENTCOM commander briefed him, it was yesterday, on options to, quote, blast the hell out of Iran. And I think if you marry that to perhaps what was happening in Nevada with all the earthquakes, was that, again, like I said, was that one of these generals ensuring that there were weapons capable and ready, and he was keeping options open for Trump. Again, if you're military, you are an advisor for the Department of War, and you are tasked with, looking at strategic options, and then you are the one who's assigned the binder for the nuclear department. Well, I would imagine that you are ensuring that you have different nuclear options available, if so be it, if the conflict leans that way. So, perhaps. But nothing is speaking to it at all. And this actually even comes from, I believe it was yesterday or 2 days ago, there was an article that spoke and was covering about how they're positioning with the blockade to leave it in place indefinitely. And the idea being is the blockade can choke out Iran economically with the restrictions it's placing. There was some reporting, though, that Iran had begun disguising themselves as Iraqi ships to get around the U.S. blockade. So unsure how successful and how much traffic is getting through, although I'm sure there's some, but probably not a lot, probably not anything even significant at all. But there's no world in which the war ends and the hostilities end today. And I think this is more so just, again, this rhetoric hodgepodge of nonsense. And so that's kind of it for the Iran war. I don't want to beat a dead horse over and over and over again, but that's kind of just where it is right now. Beyond that, though, another kind of story that's been getting pushed up a bit more, which I think is important, and it's kind of noticeable to see who's not talking about it, is the story of, forgive me, wrong button. It's the story of President Trump's net worth tripling. And so he has now tripled up to $6.5 billion since he won the 2024 election. And I believe I saw a quoted post earlier today from, I believe, Robert Barnes. Could be wrong about who it is, but the post basically said that Trump has made more money off of his, I think it's second term, than any president in any of the previous 10 administrations combined have. So it's kind of a crazy number to see. And it's kind of curious how it's even happening, right? Like, this is insane. The crypto scam, like Top Gal is pointing out there as well. But you just think about, can you imagine the things that would be getting said if Kamala was in office, or say this was happening under Joe Biden, I mean, people would be banging their heads against the wall. It's going like, it's clear corruption. It's clear and obvious. And what happened to all those people who were talking all of that trash about Nancy Pelosi's insider trading? Where did they all just like disappear and fall off the face of the earth? And, you know, there were people who were like, there was like the Pelosi tracker. There was all these guys who were, you know, up to date on it. Nancy Pelosi, where's the Howard Lutnick Sons tracker? Where's the betting market? We think these are potentially MAGA staffer tracker. Where's any of that same energy at all? And it's just non-existent. It's not there, at least not as prominent as it once was, and it's not even being, you know, parroted or echoed by the people who were pushing it when it was Nancy Pelosi. And so you just kind of see these comparisons and you contrast them to where they were prior. It just makes you sad, because so much of politics is a game. It is a literal game to these people. And yeah, I do appreciate you being here on time. I do appreciate seeing you, though. And I appreciate the super chats. You have a good rest of your night. And Christ is king. Much love, brother. Appreciate seeing you, man. So, I felt like it was just so constant a year ago, 2 years ago, even, that it was Hunter Biden this, Nancy Pelosi this, look at her husband, look what they did here, look at this, enriching themselves here. And it's maybe even the most obvious it's ever been. And since we've been paying attention the last couple of years, and I had to go read like a broken down by AI article from Whoa to go understand like how the Howard Lutnick sons were making money off of the tariffs and, buying it up for like pennies on the dollar. Where's all that? And again, why is Howard Lutnick, like, is there an investigation ongoing in there? Who knows? Doubtful. Not happening. So, more of this kind of idea that these people who are inside of this administration who have pushed for it are there because it is helping their careers. They're there and they're advertising for Trump and pushing for these things because it is a mutual benefit for them. They benefit from the large audience and the big dollars that back those things. And Trump benefits from seemingly having a chorus of support all the way around, despite that there is, they're all being essentially paid to be there, or they have an idea that they will be paid more if they remain. And then you do have the Daily Wire conducting layoffs. I think that's actually a good development. Awesome. Round of applause, everybody. Daily Wire is laying people off. We have victory, finally. Although the company's not completely shut down, we can only hope that one of the big wigs is sent home sooner than later. And who knows who they'll get rid of. I would imagine, I would be curious to see, like, would they get rid of Michael Knowles before they get rid of Isabel Brown, seeing how they've invested so much into her? Because what if Isabel Brown is somebody like they fire or they lay off shortly after they run her through the ringer of like, we're going to use you as a prop to bludgeon your best friend into submission. And since she didn't go along with it, we're going to use you to replace her and you're just going to take over her show. And it would be curious, if you fire that person after running her through all that, does she turn around and go on, call her daddy? And she starts giving a full breakdown of like, yeah, and this is actually really bad. And when Jeremy talked to me like this, he was so rude. It's like, is that we're going to get, more of the real lives of Mormon wives type content? You would hope not. You would really hope not. So it would be kind of curious to see what you get in that. There's some other smaller stories as well, too, with like RFK saying that all the Alzheimer's cure doesn't exist because of corruption. He believed he blamed HHI, which is honestly the first thing I've seen of RFK meaningful in a long time. There was another story that was looking at replacing the Surgeon General who was brought into the cabinet by Donald Trump. The Surgeon General, her name is Casey Means. And they were looking to replace her with some kind of Fox News correspondent, of course. And again, I'm loosely remembering Casey Means, but Casey Means was somebody who has given a multitude of speeches on the kind of the dangers of like, COVID vaccine and things of that. And she's being pushed out. I believe she's like one of these smart, like redhead scientists, but I cannot remember what she was really prominent for. But she was another kind of Maha selection. I'm not sure if she was right wing in general, but it would make sense if she's Maha and Maha's not happening and all that is happening is war with Iran. She might not feel like she's welcome there. Maybe she just feels uncomfortable, or perhaps maybe she's let it be known that she would like to step away, or maybe she's staying and is, maybe saying things that she shouldn't be. And that's maybe why they're looking at replacing her with a Fox News or a Fox correspondent or somebody who's previously worked alongside Fox or still does. And I'm forgetting that person's name, but like most people at Fox, they're irrelevant and they're all basically the same person. And Tucker Carlson actually did hit the highest odds on the betting market. Polymarket had him shot up to 7%, which I believe is the highest, near double what he's ever been on the betting odds of becoming president. I believe the last highest that he surged to was around 4%. And I forget what event had begun kicking that off, but he was around 4%. Now it was at 7%. Who knows if that sticks? And it's Polymarket data, so it's like not really anything to hang your hat on, but it is some insight. It's kind of like a confidence market, essentially. There was another story that I didn't pay much attention to, but it goes lockstep with everything else that's been ongoing. And that there was the former political mentor to Marco Rubio and a former Florida congressman. His name is David Rivera. Yeah, David Rivera. He was convicted for his role in apparently a secret $50 million lobbying campaign on behalf of the Venezuelan government. So not a good sign if, for Rubio to have a former mentor get locked up for being a foreign actor. But again, I think some of those ties with Rubio and Cuba and the Caribbean in general, I think are already suspect enough. So we're going to move on to the fun part of the stream today. Actually, I'm going to go ahead and kind of cut the news element short. We're going to move over to a bit of the React side of the newsroom. And that is some of just the more crazier things that have happened today. And then again, because the news day was slow and I didn't really have much I really wanted to even cover, to be honest with you, of what was, if you will. And so there was something insane. And so again, going into the line of Casey PUTSCH versus Vivek and voting for Casey again on May 5th, if you are in Ohio, Vivek has had two kind of crazy clips resurface. One is insane. One of these resurfaced clips from Vivek, I'm sure you guys have probably already seen. It's been very prominent. The other one, less so, but it came out a few days ago, but I have both of them. We're just going to go ahead and react to both while we're here. And so more reasons to, want to watch Vivek lose. Some of the best comments I've seen on this is somebody quoted this post and said, at first I just wanted Vivek to lose. Now I want to see him humiliated and his political career destroyed. And so this is Vivek telling you what Jesus is. So get ready and buckle up.
So I'll be very honest. It's not a hard question at all. So in our faith tradition, Jesus Christ is a son of God. I know that is different than saying he's the son of God. But that is my view of Jesus Christ. He's got our family. Do we worship in churches? Yes, we do. Is that compatible with our faith? Yes, it is. One true God in many forms. So that's different, and I understand that.
That is different. The only way to heaven is through Jesus Christ.
I think that is the path. That is a path to heaven, is the way we look at it. But belief in God is what we say. Yeah. Belief in the one true God. That's the way I look at it.
So there you have it. There you have it. He thinks that Jesus Christ is a son of God, not the son of God. And he immediately acknowledges it directly thereafter. But that's his view. I mean, he says it right there. That is my view of Jesus. And when this man says that the only way to heaven is through Jesus Christ, Vivek says no. And so he tries not to be, clearly, for obvious reasons, he tries not to directly sit there and say, no, I don't think so. He's not trying to argue with them. But he tries to give a halfway answer because clearly he's convicted that what this man says is not what he believes. So instead of arguing further, he just kind of, agrees to disagree. That's the way I look at it, right? So this clip has kind of probably put people into a much more antagonistic view of Vivek. This is a hard thing, especially when you're running for Ohio and you're already, Christmas crash out. You are shitting on Americans because they don't all go to, stupid prep schools for, 2 years to get these stupid BS licenses. That's how they do all their stupid schooling in India and other places. That he has these crash out moments, and then you add on top of it that you don't think that Jesus is the son of God. It's like, why are you running for anything in the United States of America? I mean, at all. Period. Point blank. And this goes to a bit more of one of my hardline beliefs, which is like, if you are an admitted non-believer, like you are an admitted, you don't believe in Christianity, you should not be eligible to hold office in this country. I don't care if it's the presidency or it's as simple as you are the city treasurer. You should not be allowed to hold office or be allowed near the levers of power or any reign of influence at all in this nation if you are not an overt and outspoken believer in the one true God, which is Jesus Christ. It's a very, very simple thing to me, if you're asking. And that's, more than one reasons for that, but I think if anything, that's literally probably the primary reason why Vivek should not be the governor of Ohio. The second one came from the other day. This is a bit of a shorter one, and it's a little bit less offensive, less heretical, but it is still gives you a sign into, again, why is this guy running for governor of Ohio? Take a listen to his answer here, because he's asked what his favorite state is. And you'll be surprised by what the answer is here.
As well, I've already been talking to a few prospective candidates. I was sitting next to Emily, who asked me what my favorite state was. Was it Ohio, where I'm from? And I said, Ohio's a good state. I can't say it's the best state. She said, I can tell you what's the best state. It's Indiana, where she's from. So it's the cussedness of the Hillsdale student. But as well, I've already been.
So, you can maybe make, he has it's like a bad joke or a rough joke. And maybe even at the end of this, he's going to say, no, I'm just kidding. I love Ohio. I think Ohio's the best. He could be, and I don't know. Perhaps that's the truth. But it's just poor optic. It's like anybody from Ohio wouldn't even joke about that. There's no, what Ohioan for even a half of a second is going to sit there and say, you know what? Ohio is a good state, but Michigan, it's like, no, you'd be run out of town. Your family would force you to wear the maize and blue for the rest of your life if you said something like that. You can't take that back. Even in jest. It's called Ohio supremacy. Have you ever seen the meme? Wait, it's all Ohio. Always was. Beautiful, beautiful meme. I love it. I love it. Ohio against the world. Right? Have you guys seen these memes? It was born out of like the 2014 run with Ohio State in the national championship, the historic run. The mandate from heaven Ohio State 2014 run, which led to the 2015 national championship. It was beautiful. You just had to be there, man. You just had to be there. But it is funny though. It's the year when there was like multiple quarterback injuries. We're only like the third stringer. It's a ragtag group, and they win the national championship. They end up blowing people out too. It's just quarterback comes in. The only thing he's known for is he's like Uncle Rico. He's like, I ain't accurate, but I can throw that ball down the field. They called him 12 gauge. Man, crazy year. That's a bit of sports ball for you, for all of you sports ball enjoyers. And there was another element of, and that's something I wanted to react to too, moving away from Vivek. And this is Lee Zeldin. And the reason why we have this clip today, and again, we covered it a little bit yesterday, but if you don't remember, there is a lot of hearings going on about the 2027 fiscal year budgets from across the departments. And so Lee Zeldin was brought in by Trump to be the EPA administrator, and you can see that caption there on the quote tweet. He is testifying about budget and finances. And we got this clip here. This is the shorter version. That's actually the decently sized version. 35-second clip. I saw a couple different length ones. But Lee Zeldin, when he responds back to the guy who was grilling him, and I don't know who it is, Senator Whitehouse it looks like, he responds with, I'm not, you can see the quote here, I'm not going to take morality lessons from people who join all white country club. Really? Really? So let's take a listen first.
We're going to get to talk about math.
Are you even tracking the consumer costs of those coal plants?
Oh, no, this is great. So I don't even know where to start with all the messed up math.
Answer that question.
Do you think that the math is it's better for West Virginia if you close down their coal plants and put these people out of work and tell them to learn to code? According to
think that when
you,
put
in your
a coal
mind,
plant
that's saving
on
West
that
Virginia?
is raising
Is
costs.
it saving them on energy
We
access?
know it's raising costs.
Is it saving them on jobs?
You can talk across me all you like. You are raising costs.
We're not going to take morality lessons from people who join all white country clubs. We're going to get.
So, what is this? What is this here? I'm not going to take morality lessons from, people who join all white country clubs. Can you imagine if I looked at Ketanji Brown Jackson and said, I'm not going to take morality lessons from someone who went to an all black college? I'm not going to take morality lessons from somebody who went to I'm not going to take morality lessons from somebody who thought they needed to live in a Jewish only community. Can you imagine it literally going any other way? No. And the only reason it goes this way is because obviously every other group is allowed to have their pro preferences except for white people. And then you get an idea here too of, is this what they think the inside of the administration is? Is this like somebody pushed the messaging here for the administration, right? Somebody said this is the line you need to go with. Clearly somebody on his staffer had a few zingers up their sleeve of like, well, if you get in a bad spot, here's some information about White House you can use. It's just okay. So I guess Lee Zeldin, the AZ Templar or whatever his name is, it's apparently, Lee Zeldin hates white people. Why is that a bad thing? And you see the way they view this. And again, even early on, I was not happy with Lee Zeldin being a choice. Actually, when we were doing the tier list on way back when I was still a part of Jar Openers. Why? You think of the last time you even heard someone of any substance say anything where they go, yeah, well, at least I didn't do this all black thing. Yeah, well, at least I didn't go to an all black. Yeah, well, it just doesn't exist. Because every other group, when they get together and they exclude and segregate everyone else out, totally fine. It's normal. They go around and everyone recognizes, they go, oh yeah, this is the black part of Atlanta. This is where, And it's just cool. It's fine. It's normal. It's normative. But it's white people who, if they have a pro preference, if they decide they want to link up together, and you guys already all know this. And so it's just, again, another inkling you can see being dripped out of the mouth of Lee Zeldin as another sign of what this administration is, and ultimately who they always probably have been. Now there's like a short clip from Lee Zeldin there, but it would never be uttered the other way around, like not at all. And that's what I couldn't remember. I'm positive that he is. He definitely is. And that's part of it too. Like, imagine that. Can you imagine if I turned that around? They would call me an anti-Semite. If I said that, now if I was like, well, at least I didn't feel the need that I had to go to a Hebrew university. Well, what's that? Then they would call you anti-Semitic. You do the black school, at least I didn't have to go to a historically all black university. You get attacked for being racist. So you can either point out the disparity, you can point out the hypocrisy, or you can also just say, like, I literally don't care. I literally just don't care. There's two ways to move forward with it. You got to pick one. You can't, no more going along with this and tolerant and like, that's not shouldn't even be a singer. And I wish the Democrat guy would have responded, but like, what the hell do you mean by that? Go ahead and lay it out for me, Lee. What's all wrong here with that? What do you, and again, morality lessons implying that because he goes to an all white country club, and again, it's something he does in his free time too. It's not like it's a permanent, something he has super baked into his life. But it's the sign is, oh, you hang around other white people. You like to be around all white, high white product environments. That must mean you're a person of poor moral character. That's what he's really saying there, without saying it. We also have more pressure coming from the pro-Israel crowd that also exists in the outer circle of the MAGA entity, if you will. And that was Ben Shapiro telling the Shabbat there would be a disaster if Trump does not pull the trigger on Iran. Here's one of the next clips that I saw. Oh, forgive me. Clicked out on the wrong one. But here's this one. This is from Chris Menahan. And again, very, very similar kind of topic and content. But again, this has been saying that he thinks if Trump doesn't pull the trigger and unleash our massive arsenal against Iran, it'll be a disaster. If we don't glass Iran, it will be a disaster. And this is the argument from Ben as he's telling the Shabbat.
I'd like to shift over to the Persian Gulf, to Iran, to President Trump's actions or inaction in Iran. How do you envision or understand President Trump holding off a strike on Iran while they continue to build up their weapon systems?
So there's sort of the optimistic vision in my view, and then there's the pessimistic vision in my view, and I have no idea which one of these is correct, because I don't think necessarily the president knows which one he's going to do yet. The president goes with his gut, typically. I think the president's gut so far has been pretty excellent when it comes to Middle Eastern politics, but it's possible that he goes a way that I would prefer that he not go. Obviously, the buildup takes time. There were not the sort of resources necessary to launch the kind of long-lasting strikes on IRGC facilities and ballistic missile bases and military leadership necessary to actually destabilize the regime. And so it takes a while to actually sail gigantic ships halfway around the world and place them in the Mediterranean or in the Persian Gulf. And so there are still ships that are on their way right now. The amount of resources that have been mobilized to the region is extraordinary. I mean, you're talking about hundreds of American fighter jets. You are talking about multiple aircraft carriers. You're talking about an enormous arsenal that has been assembled. Now, whether the president actually decides to pull the trigger on it is really the question. I think it will be a disaster if he does not. I know that he's being told by a lot of people that it will be a disaster if he does, that something terrible will happen. These are exactly the same people who suggested World War III, literally the same exact people who said World War III would break out if he flew one B-2 over one site and hit it with some bombs. And of course, none of that happened. It wasn't World War III. It was actually a very successful military strike. The question for the president, he doesn't like long-lasting military actions. He likes decisive military actions that don't cost a lot of blood and treasure.
Who is everybody like inebriated in this room? It was a very successful, like, limited strike, you know, that only did not end anything at all, but really just set the stage for where we are right now. That's led to further bloodshed and loss of American life. May I add that too? Everybody in this room either has to be inebriated or the audience is AI. Because who, in what world is this even believable in the slightest?
Hopefully no blood and minimal treasure. And so the question is the realism of the operation, what he thinks he can get done. The reason I say that it will be disastrous is not only because it will embolden the Iranian government, which, again, let's just be clear about what happened here. The Iranian government had gigantic millions-wide protests in the streets. And the President of the United States put out a public statement saying that the people should stay in the streets and that help was on the way. And the people did stay out in the streets, and probably tens of thousands of them were murdered. And so if the president does nothing about
Did you catch that? Catch the word he puts in front of murdered tens of thousands.
public statement saying that the people should stay in the streets and that help was on the way. And the people did stay out in the streets, and probably tens of thousands of them were murdered. And so if the president does nothing about that, and he comes away with some sort of half-assed agreement that very much looks like the JCPOA but maybe slightly stronger, then Iran will read that as weakness, and they should read that as weakness because it is weakness. And I don't think Iran will be the only country that reads that as weakness, by the way. I think that if the president backs off of this without real commitments on ballistic missiles, on funding of terrorism, and on complete denuclearization, I think that the chances that China makes a move on Taiwan are extraordinarily strong inside the next 3 years.
Okay. So going to war with Iran won't start World War III, but not finishing the job against Iran will start World War III. And now it makes sense. Like, okay. I was thankfully Ben Shapiro was here to explain this to me, so I could actually make some understanding of what was going on there. But dude, it just makes you just want to go jump off a bridge. What are we talking about? I know it's just the number gets smaller day by day. 45, 40, 30. Soon they'll be entertaining. It'll be the AI images will come out at some point. No, it's literally incredible. And even of that too, like Some of the reports also talked about a lot of these groups that were there, that were protesting, were armed. Okay, a bunch of guys in black suits with AK-47s, like, just let them peacefully protest. It's so, like, everything's hypocritical, and it's so nonsensical, and it's illogical, that it's like, it makes you just want to grab your monitor and throw your skull through it. Which is why a lot of people are just tired of it. You know, a lot of people just get burnt out. Politics is, you get burnt out doing it. And it's just like going through the motions again, day after day, watching Ben pretend like he cares about this country, watching other people pretend like they're the most conservative of all conservatives. It's like, you just like, you know, you feel yourself like kind of like getting closer to the meat grinder. You know, you can hear the walls. The sounds are getting louder, you know, the whirring of the machine as it starts grinding. You're like, hey, at least I'm getting closer to the end. Like, so we all kind of slowly cascade forward to that. It's just kind of sad. And so now, you know, this is some of the pressures here coming from Ben Shapiro. And this is probably going to be the same, very similar rhetoric coming from Levin, and very similar rhetoric coming from Hammer and Loomer, and you know all the rest. You know all the people, what's it, like Graham Allen, all these other stupid people I never even heard of before. Then you click on them and it's like, this guy has 2 million followers. It's like, how? How have I been in politics and been paying attention for years, and I never heard of this person until today, and they have like 2 million followers? It's like, there's no way. So they're all products created, built, pushed, born. And there's a couple other things. There was one thing I wanted to cover a little bit too was, like, again, Rachel Wilson and Andrew Wilson pushing it too, more so in his oral arguments, but Rachel Wilson again kind of highlighting the idea that the immigration is solved. And look who she places the blame on. Anti-Goyism. Yeah. Funny. And so you see this article here, not an article really, but it's a news clip from Fox News. And they're showing the disparity between the migrants who are released at U.S. borders from March of 2026, a 0 highlighted in the green, compared to 2 years ago in March before Trump was in office at around 80,000. And while that is a positive, it's something that you would like to see, less migrants. The overall is like, look what she caveats this with here. Look at the caption. She says, this alone was completely worth a second Trump term. Do not let Democrats get in power to reverse this. Make it clear the American people want this permanent. And you just go, no. And what's crazy is that's not the original. Hold on. That was not her original post. It's this one. Yeah, this is the one I wanted to look at. So that one was obviously important, but it's this one I really wanted to take a look at. She says, and a whole bunch of you want to let Democrats win the next 2 elections so they can open the border back up and seal our doom forever. Please don't. That's literally the worst thing you can do to the next several generations. So on one hand, she says that just because there's no more immigrants coming in, that would have been good enough. No, Rachel, it's not good enough. And again, I've explained this a bajillion times. I'm not going to go into the full visual, like the demonstration, but the idea that you had millions of illegals come inside your country, the idea that you simply shut the door and that is it, like that was worth the second term when it wasn't. It was like that was a third, like that's a secondary or even tertiary effect to some of the main reasons people voted for Trump. If anything, what that is accomplishing, like definitionally, the literal bare minimum. The bare minimum of the executive branch in this country is to ensure the borders are secure, the national security. And again, there are more problems of what we're dealing with in terms of how it is affecting us economically, in terms of how it is degenerating us culturally, in terms of how it's affecting things like the birth rate and the atomization of people, the balkanization, although not by boundaries and state lines, but by the tribal You know, this is Little Italy. This is Chinatown. This is the black side of Chicago. Here's the white side of Chicago. Here's the liberal side of Chicago. Well, the majority of that's being driven by the fact that we are literally a broken nation. We are a nation of nations. That's not how it was supposed to be, but that's what we're dealing with. We have multiple nations inside of us, and so we are operating as that. When you have things like H-1B visas that are seemingly not being looked at, like, do you think the H-1B visas counted in as a migrant being dropped off at the border? No. But H-1B visas are more of a problem than the illegals. Illegal immigration is a problem, but illegal immigrants aren't competing with front-end software coders, at least for the most part. It's not to say that the illegals can't get in and get a chance or get a job, but it is to say that the reason why that the majority of the Americans born here, lived here, several generations have lived here, Americans can't get jobs is because of the legal apparatuses that are still being used and exploited, because people inside all of these different, you know, business conglomerates and the Chamber of Commerce are all in the ears because, no, please, Trump, I can't pay an American a living wage. I can only pay an immigrant something less than that. And so we continue the problem, which is the fact that the majority of these people live decent lives. And it is because they are legal immigrants, basically being handed money hand over foot by the state, and also being paired with the fact that they are the preferred labor force. And that's because the majority of the time, these larger companies that have access to being able to apply and use visas, especially the H-1B and I think it's the H-1A, they take full advantage of it. So no, that's not to sit there for Rachel Wilson to say that it would have been good enough for Trump to simply shut the door for 4 years, an entire presidency, to literally shut the door to the country would have been good enough is pathetic. It's the bare minimum. I wouldn't even say it's the bare minimum. That goes back to resetting and setting the standard of what should have never even been touched in the first place. What do you mean you opened your border? And, you know, I really I try to avoid attacking people. I do, but I was so disturbed by this. And it's not even just that. You continue, and who is she blaming here too? If you read the first line, we'll go back to that again. And a whole bunch of you want to let Democrats win the next 2 elections so they can open the border back up and seal our doom forever. Right. I could not think of a lazier way to reduce the majorative reason why people are pushing to vote for Democrats. It is very simple. The current administration lied. The people who are a part of the Trump administration lied. They stabbed the American people in the back and did so without even blinking. And in fact, the moment that someone said, hey, wow, whoa, why is this dagger 8 inches deep into my back? They said, how dare you look at me like that? This is what we were always about. You Nazi. Mass deportations. Does Rachel not understand? Like, people did not hold massive signs at rallies that said, no more border crossings. Can someone, I mean, honestly, I would give somebody money if they could find an image on Google Images that said that someone had a massive poster that said no more border crossings. The posters that were waved around at the rallies as the people were led to believe that this president was actually going to drain the swamp said mass deportations. Deporting somebody, I guess maybe Rachel and Andrew Wilson don't understand what this means. Deporting people means physically taking them from your country and removing them, taking them across the border. You are actually doing the opposite of border crossings. You're crossing the border the opposite way. That's what people are pissed about. They are pissed that that's not happening. They're pissed that the Iran war started, that the Iran war is even happening in the first place. And Nick said it best. What was at one point was unthinkable is now inevitable and is happening and seems to have no end in place. So I will hold the accusations of what I think is possibly occurring because I cannot and will not reason with this bullshit argument. And it is even more infuriating that you would throw it at the feet of the American people who are the ones being screwed over. How dare you? And it's just a weak way. You know why people are voting Democrat? It is because we want to see the people who are supporting this current iteration of the GOP and the GOP at large to suffer. Now, the goal and the idea is to vote for Democrats in the midterms, to force a changing, to give the Democrats the upper hand, to allow them to be able to drop their own committees, to leave their own committees to impeach you lying, corrupt fools. Yeah, we're voting Democrat because we secretly always wanted to have the border overran. Are you effing kidding me? What a crazy way to cope about the fact that your side was the side that lied. Your side, even in the most charitable interpretation, if they are not all being blackmailed by some nefarious, disgusting shit in the Epstein files or otherwise just a party to it because they believe and are actually pro-Israel, or maybe they are some insane Zionist, the most charitable interpretation you can give them is that they rallied a bunch of people, a bunch of the American people, about something that they didn't have the balls or conviction or courage or hunger to do. They couldn't handle it. When the fire got hot, they backed off. And that goes for people like Tom Homan and all of them. Every single one of you. Mass deportations, and no one thought, well, maybe it might get ugly. Of course it was going to get ugly. It's a legal, you know, quote unquote legal. But it is a legal way to get your country back before people start trying to force things at gunpoint. That was the hope. And when you take what feels like as was the last hope to actually get that meaningful change, you're going to blame people for being blackmailed and wanting to burn the people who just burned them. Goes right back to the old trope, which is, I'm in a room with two of my enemies and one traitor, and I gave the traitor the entire magazine. But again, you know, I think Hook is right. I think that I think they know exactly what they're doing. I don't think that they're idiots. I don't. I think they know exactly what they're doing, and I'm just very curious why they are doing it. And you got this from Tix. He says they use Rob Noor. Is it Rob Noor or Rob Noor? I don't know how to say it. They use Rob Noor for a gotcha audience question in her Brenda Shapiro debate. So they must have not been too confident in her. Agent Brenda as a layup for any prepared topic. Oh yeah, dude, that Shapiro guy is crazy. He's like a crazy combination of like that Adderall speedball kind of like destiny, like energy, but he's also like very effeminate. And I saw a bit of a clip. It was like between him and Warren Smith, actually. And there's a black guy there too. But it's like Warren Smith was trying to lay a very rational argument down against like something like black culture. And you just watch Brian Shapiro getting offended for the black dude. And it's so performative and over the top. And it does make you think too, like we are in a world of sociopaths at the end of the day. Kind of like it's kind of like what we're living in. And you almost like have to be a sociopath to get through the day. And it's sad because it's like you don't want it to be that way, right? You don't want it to be anything like that. But when so many jobs and the social sphere requires you to be so much less than yourself to get by or otherwise not have your life destroyed, it's no wonder why there's so many like outpourings of mental issues and different kind of psychosis and breakdowns and kind of just, you know, offshoots of different crazy things. Because, you know, you got to think about it. You guys probably relate to this too. You can't say how you really feel about X and Y and Z and A and B. And even if you were to halfway even utter something close to how you felt, you would get interrogated. People would look at you a certain way. You have to bury it deep. Don't do it too much. Otherwise, you'll get fired. You'll get doxxed. Someone will come after you. You might just make things uncomfortable. It might ruin or threaten the nature of a relationship you have with somebody. And of course, that's going to breed sociopaths. They're entire for 8 hours a day for the time that they're at work. They're pretending to be somebody they're not. So they just simply won't have their life destroyed. It's not everybody, but it's a lot of people. Meanwhile, the other side gets to dance and mock the death of Charlie Kirk, and they expect wholeheartedly they can walk right back into work the next day and everyone will laugh at their joke and in fact applaud them and agree with them. So busted, man. And I guess I will go to this as well too. One other thing I want to go to. I keep saying one other thing, but like I have a group of things. Is Orrin McIntyre on the same note as well. So Orrin McIntyre, I want to like him. I really do. He seems like he's probably a nice guy, but you know, nice doesn't win in anything at all. Nice actually just gets you screwed over in more ways than you'd like. So I would like to be honest. And I honestly just can't get my head around these types of people. It doesn't make any sense to me. Now, again, Orrin McIntyre is attached to Blaze TV, so that right out the window, right off the gates, is something that you don't like to see. But just take a little bit of a listen here, because I would like to go to the beginning of what he says at the beginning of this clip here, because it goes back to, again, this idea of not voting for Democrat, complaining about how bad. So Orrin McIntyre actually is a bit further along than Rachel Wilson. Rachel is like, Trump is flawless. Like, the Trump administration is like flawless. I know they wouldn't say that, but that's ostensibly like when they make these repeated broad arguments and they make these extremely like egregious reductions in the opposition arguments, it gives all of the tone that they are. They view that Trump is a nearly infallible. Orrin McIntyre is not all the way there. He's more willing to be critical of Trump and the people around Trump, but he still has this broken track of thinking about when it comes to Democrats and Republicans. So take a listen to a little bit of this opening clip here from him. Well, not the music. I don't want to get copyrighted.
With a lot of questions. At this point, what is the purpose of the GOP? I'm glad that something like the Trump administration is going after the SPLC. That's good. But as the Republican Party as a whole, what are they doing? I just saw Jim Jordan complaining about the SPLC and all these other organizations, saying, when will something be done? I don't know, Jim Jordan. You're in Congress. When will something be done? When will congressional Republicans do anything? You know what the Republican House has done in the last few weeks? They managed to help vote for amnesty for Haitian immigrants, to extend the protection for Haitian immigrants. That's what the GOP has done for me lately.
Yeah, it was like the, oh my gosh, extended protections. It's got like a certain kind of name to it, but they did extend the protections. House actually sent it into tinfoil hat, I think like a day or two ago, but it actually happened a bit earlier. It happened on April 16th, this whole Haitian thing. And again, what Republicans don't talk about it. Anything that would be negative to the administration, you're only going to hear from people who are even halfway willing to be critical of what's going on.
That's what the GOP is doing. Where they pass one spending bill, they got the trifecta. They had the mandate. They had the House. They had the Senate. They had Trump. They kind of have the Supreme Court. Nothing. They've done nothing. They've passed nothing. The GOP are cowards, useless, trash. When I say things like, we have to defeat the GOP first, this is what I'm talking about. I don't mean like, oh, go vote for Democrats. Obviously not. That's stupid. Anyone telling you that is stupid.
And so the thing is, it's like, it's not to switch sides and like forever we're going to be a Democrat, right? There's an element to this. But he basically spends, I'm not even joking you, this entire 8 minutes complaining about how bad the GOP is, how they're cowards. But anybody telling you to vote Democrat is dumb. What's crazy about this is we'll go back to the purpose of the system is what it does. And if what the MAGA movement and the Republicans have done is simply eliminate any momentum that we stood to gain, albeit the cultural side of things still looks good, well, looks decent, and is done nothing essentially but to galvanize the left. Well, all the right wing is simply, all it has stood to gain is essentially further destroy America while giving a layup to the left. And it's like, I don't understand how he's not seeing the full side of it. It's like, but so the GOP continually does this. They continually disappoint. They continually lie. They continually get bought out. They continually do nothing. But you're an idiot for wielding your vote in any other way besides just walking it right up to them and handing it over. And these are the problems. So how are we going to defeat the GOP then? Warren McIntyre, do you think perhaps maybe we can do a bunch of streams and get a bunch of America Firsters together and perhaps that'd be enough? Or are we going to have to deal with constant all of the harassment and the deplatforming and getting neo-Nazis, white supremacists? You see how the New York Post titled the Nick Fuentes video yesterday. So what's the idea here? More scathingly written letters to our or is it that we literally have an extreme overhaul of what we expect from the GOP, what we expect from the people that we elect to elected office? And how do you do that without making them suffer? How do you do that without showing them as the people, no, we're serious about this? In the same vein of like what Nick said, holding a metaphorical gun to the head of GOP and saying, fix it or else. And that's why that's why I agree completely with voting for Democrats in the midterms. Obviously not to forego people like Casey or Fishback or Mark Lynch or any other election that is clearly seemingly looking like you have a good America First candidate. But in all the ways that you would clearly be able to choose between the lesser of two evils, well then just slam it to the Democrats, give them the edge. So we can get the investigations, we can get some oversight committees, and we can see the administration squirm. But this concept of just handing your vote over and over and over again, it is the definition of insanity. Doing the same thing over and over and over again, but expecting a different result. He's like, Warren McIntyre's like right there. He's like right there on the cusp. And let me go to the end here, because he says some more to this here at the very end as well. He actually gets closer to it, but you can kind of hear it.
Because now the real consequences are coming. And as they mutilate children and chop them up in the womb and declare sanctuary cities across the state, I want you to remember this is because of you. Because you won't stop lying to conservatives, to Republican politicians. You won't stop lying to them and telling them that they don't really have to do anything. That they can just say something about the Constitution and move on. That actually doing the hard work and taking power and actually extracting a price from people who cheat and lie and hurt our country, that's not the thing to do.
So here's where he's correct, though. Different from Rachel Wilson, he correctly assigns the blame to the GOP and holds them accountable for their actions that the people are reacting to. That's the correct assignment there, assigning the blame to the GOP. And again, pointing to the left, opening up the border, making it wide open again, installing sanctuary cities, pushing more of this DEI bullcrap. That's not because the people didn't, right? The people supposedly did the right thing. Trump had the presidency. And it's the fact of, and it's beyond just like the lying of it too. It's the fact that when the GOP has power, they refuse to wield it. It goes to things like packing the courts and all these other things. They refuse to actually wield power. And it seems like, again, they are the only ones that, the GOP, the Republicans are the only ones that fear the law. They're the only ones that fear not going along with the Constitution. But when the left gets in power, they say, what Constitution? Oh, that thing? That old archaic document doesn't mean anything to me. And maybe that's part of the setup. That's maybe part of the bit more party of the uniparty. But I'll let him finish out because I think he says it at the final 10 seconds.
No. We don't do that when we're in power. We sit around on our hands. We talk about small government, and then we hand the apparatus of the government back to the very people who are planning our demise and say, oops, what are you going to do? Maybe next time. How about next time we win? And then we use the power. And then we crush these people like they're going to do to us.
But you have to vote for these people because voting for Democrats is stupid. It's just like, where do we get this from? Like, who's get? You go on and 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 on. The hope is that Owen McIntyre gets it at some point, and I think he is. A little too late to the party, and I think maybe there's a bit of ego tied up in a lot of this too. And again, nobody wants to be proven wrong. You know, you think about the classic example. I think it's maybe the best example is like a scientist who's worked on something for 40 years, only to find out that the guy who worked in the office across from him, his life work actually disproved the other guys. So who wants to have spent their entire life working on something only to realize they were wrong? You know, some people really will fight tooth and nail to not be proven wrong. They'll dig in, they'll dig their heels in and push something even though it might not have any weight to it at all. So, and again, you know, and it lacks a nuance as well too. The Marion Bro, appreciate the super chat. He says, if we have to vote for the opposition party as the only leverage to help our party, I'd say we're under duress. Yeah, most definitely. I think people don't know like where to look. And this is kind of also a product of the fact of a couple of things, but there's also the element that a lot of people feel like their vote doesn't mean anything anyway. What's the result? Doesn't matter who's in office, it just gets worse. And so there's a broad idea, and again, less than half the country even votes anyways. I think it was only 48% of the country voted even for this last election. So while Trump did win the popular vote, less than half the country voted, so how can you even say he won the popular vote? Less than half of the people participated. Because the other half of people like literally just could not even be bothered. They don't care. It's out of sight, out of mind. They don't view it as like that it affects them. They can't be bothered to think about politics. So a huge portion of the country is already demoralized. And that number, I believe, has decreased, every election, which is crazy because every election as it comes around is the most important election of our lifetimes. But seemingly less and less people are concerned with the results of it. But I do appreciate the super chat, brother. Thank you very much. And that's probably going to be where I'm going to go ahead and end it for today. Again, I know a super slow news day. I know not too many things happening at all. And unfortunately, it looks like my channel is still being a little hurt by it. Or maybe I am just losing it. Maybe I'm losing my touch. Who knows? And maybe the thumbnails just suck. I don't know. We'll see. Or maybe it was because I did another interview with a no-no person, I guess, if you will. We'll see. But I appreciate you guys, as always. Seek first the kingdom of God. There's literally nothing more important than that. And despite what Vivek says, Jesus Christ is the path, the truth, the way, the life. Vivek's wrong. And he's not fit for Ohio. And I will say, good luck to all the people who are speaking at America First United. Good luck to everybody on there. Please don't make a fool of yourself. Please don't have any CNN Groiper moments. Please, Lord, have mercy. Please, please, Lord. Because I swear on God's green earth, if I am made to answer for things, or it blows back on me, I'm not going to be too happy about any of that. I doubt it would. I'm maintaining a healthy distance. As it were. But good luck to all the people who are going to be going on there. I know a lot of people, it might be their first time speech in front of a crowd, or, if for some it might just be a stream, so maybe they won't even really notice it or care about it. But, good luck to those people. Just please don't make the movement look stupid. Please. Represent yourselves well, represent Christ well. Let's actually get a strong coalition of America First. Let's not play around with a big tent this time around. The tent needs to be defined. It needs to be squared up. It needs to be very simple. America first. This is a Christian country. And women need to shut the up. So with that, I think that's all I wanted to say. Grip Report will be coming back on Saturday. And we'll be down today, but we will be coming back on tomorrow at 8 p.m. at the usual time. Josh should be there joining with me as well. And, shout out to all the other guys with New American Vision as well, too. For Zeb and Josh and John and all the other guys, rooting for them, too. I feel like there was something else I was going to say and I can't remember, so we're just going to leave it at that. I appreciate you guys, and rooting for you as always. Never black pill. The fight is not over. The war, quite frankly, feels like it's just begun. Or maybe we've just reached Act 3. And so with that, Everybody have a good rest of your night. Impeach the entire administration, all of them, every single one. I don't even care if they're not there anymore. Impeach them. Drag Pam Bondi back to the White House. Make her testify for these things. We want to see that happen. We want to see investigations take place. We want to see things uncovered. And if there's any truth to the claim that there is still Epstein documents that have not been released, these things need to be adjudicated and brought to light. Will it? Who knows? But with that, any woman over 150 pounds, you are going to be shot immediately from the first available cannon I can find to Israel. And any woman between 100 and 150 pounds, this is your 90-day notice to lose the weight and get attractive. Otherwise, you too will be joining them at the bottom of the ocean because the cannons don't shoot very far. So with that, everybody have a good rest of your night. I will see you guys next time, probably tomorrow, I would imagine. And I will have an appearance and a collab, but more information on that when I get it. And I'll see you then. Take care.
Get up and get out. Get out. Get out.
I have a question for you.
Say Christ is Lord. Say Christ is Lord. Say it. You say Christ is Lord. Get out. Get out. Christ is